We all face limits, not just in talent, but in opportunity. But more often than we think, our limits are self-imposed. We try, fail, and conclude we've bumped our heads against the ceiling of possibility. Or maybe, after just taking a few steps, we change direction. In either case, we never venture as far as we might have. To be gritty is to keep putting one foot in front of the other. To be gritty is to hold fast to an interesting and purposeful goal. To be gritty is to invest day after week after year in challenging practice. To be gritty is to fall down 7 times and rise 8. One difficult thing, day and night for years on end. This is a quote from the book Grit. Leroy, could you tell us about the author of Grit?
Yeah, so the author of this wonderful book, Grit, her name is Angela Duckworth. And so she's a psychology researcher, Oxford and Harvard alumni, and also a psychology teacher at the University of Pennsylvania. So this is well within her realm of studies and passions, this book, Grit. And so you might be asking, what is grit? So Duckworth defines grit as passion and sustained persistence applied toward a long-term achievement with no particular concern for rewards or recognition along the way. It combines resilience, ambition, and self-control in the pursuit of goals that take months, years, or even decades. So that's what grit is, as she defines it. And now in simple terms, it's just, as you said before, putting one foot in front of the other and just keep on going with whatever task you're wanting to do and persevere through. So essentially, the message from this book is having grit is more important than anything else. It's more important than being talented, smart, or even being born into a family in the right circumstances. So that's essentially the big argument and the key takeaway from this book.
Yeah.
And so a gritty person, what does a gritty person look like? So it's somebody who has the ability to not give up easily. When you're a gritty person, you can face a lot of challenges and adversities to complete your goals. So you just keep on going. You get knocked back, but you rise up and go. And I think that's pretty admirable ability because we always get hit down. No matter what, no matter who you are in this world, you have experienced failure, and
We all get pummeled down at some point.
yeah, exactly. And it's when you experience that failure, for a lot of people, that's the end.
Yeah.
For some, they keep on going. And so that's essentially grit. You keep on going.
Even when things turn to shit and things just don't go your way.
Yeah,
Well, I
exactly.
guess persevere. I guess that's one of the main things about the book, isn't it?
Yeah. So, yeah, the book shares, in the book, what I really like about it is Angela shares both her own and others' research regarding how grit can lead to success. So there's evidence-backed evidence. And then she also actually gives a plan for people to follow to increase their amount of grit. And by weaving stories of her own life, which is really interesting, and scientific studies, this book is a very readable and inspiring book for all. So,
Does
yeah.
she tailor it towards any particular reader? So someone who's going through failure at the moment, or someone who's been through failure but is growing at the moment?
So mostly her book, I feel, is tailored to everyone. And then she has a bit about parenting. And in that bit, it's about helping your children find their passion, find building grit within your children. So that's a bit of tailoring to a specific audience. Otherwise, I think this book is just for essentially anyone. Probably more the, I'd say a bit older crowd, just because, yeah, it can be hard to understand at times. But yeah, if you feel like a young adult, you should be able to pick this book up and take something from it.
Do you think having past experiences of failing before would improve your understanding of this book?
Definitely, because then you can apply the messages of this book to where you have failed,
Mm.
and then sort of reverse engineer and see, oh, that's what she's talking about.
Mm.
Oh, okay, that's what I could have done differently.
Yeah.
So definitely, if you have failed, this is a good book. If you're going through a failure right now, this is also a great book. Yeah, so we'll keep on going.
Yeah.
So I got a quick question for you. What do you
Mm-hmm.
think is the biggest predictor of success, talent or effort?
Talent or effort? I guess for me, my first thing I would think of is I think about sport
Yeah.
and sports performance, and who's at the top of their field. And I think they're all talented. You have to have some talent to get there. But I think it's the effort in the end, because it's the effort that they put in that differentiates themselves from people of the same talent levels. It's what makes great players great. I guess you can apply the same thing to business too. It's the amount of effort that you put in. You can be as talented as you want. You can have the best business brain out there. But if you don't put the hours in, you don't put the effort in, I guess you don't have the grit to grind away in the
Agreed.
times when other people aren't, then you're not going to succeed. So personally, I think for sure effort is going to outdo talent almost every single time.
Yeah, exactly. You're correct. And you're one of the one of the few individuals in this big world that would say so. Society would have us believe it's talent that's actually the most important in terms of success. And you can see this through all the different sort of talent shows we have, like
Yeah.
what Australia's Got Talent, like everything's geared towards talent. Like if
Yeah.
and just the phrases that you've heard, like, oh yeah, like you see someone like at a sports athletic carnival in high school, they smash it. You're like, oh yeah, such a talented runner.
Yeah.
You don't really
Yeah.
hear too much about, wow, they've put in a lot of effort.
Yeah. It's a good point, actually. Like now you mention that, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, well, people don't celebrate all the hours they put in behind it. All they celebrate is that performance at the end, which looks like a raw, amazing talent. But without these, endless hours and days and years, either working on their sport in the gym or, studying whatever their business craft is, or even just in life in general. Like people don't celebrate that fact. All they celebrate is the talent that you see at the end. So I think you're spot on there. I think I'm very excited to read this book.
Yeah, it's an awesome book. I picked it up randomly just from Vinny's, like just through my drive-by. So like, great. I was like, okay, let's go. And yeah, and I am mentioning a lot about like, talent versus effort. Like effort is more impactful than talent, but just to be clear, Angela makes it clear that talent still exists. Like you can't take away someone's raw talent. Like, when you see someone talented, and that's not disputing that it exists, but she argues that a focus on talent distracts us from something that is at least as important, which is effort. And essentially that's a whole book. So I've heard a lot of people say about this book, like, oh, she's just getting rid of talent, saying, oh, talent is useless. But like, that's not what she says. She's saying that talent exists, but effort is stronger.
You combine
And
the two.
yeah, and you combine the two, and bam, you got success and achievement. And she also mentions that it's important to cultivate your other characters. So like social intelligence, kindness, etc., etc. Like it all works together in defining success. You can't just have talent and effort and then be successful. Or you can in some situations, but you still need a bit more than that.
I feel like we all knew that kid growing up who was just naturally more gifted than anyone in whatever sport they were in. They were like a head taller. They had, a little bit of stubble growing through.
Yeah.
They were just a little bit extra man. They'd grown up a little bit faster.
Yeah.
And yeah, they might have been a little bit more talented. And, I just remember looking up to their school and being like, man, I wish I could be as good as them.
Exactly.
And then, I guess
Too many
that's the
of
gritty
that.
thing.
Yeah.
Do you think people can get stuck in that trap of being too talented that they get to the point they just rely on it and feel like they don't need to put the hours in?
Oh, that's the yeah, for sure, without a doubt. And I guess, like, personally, I've sort of been in that trap in my own weird way. Like, for example, with study and like work, I never really struggled and I always got good grades. And like then came to uni, like especially like even the first few years of uni, pretty easy, like coasting along. But then the last 2 years at uni, I'd been like, I got that like, oh yeah, got that in my mind. Oh, this is easy. I'm talented. I can do this. I don't need to study.
Yeah.
And boy, boy, do I tell you,
Bro, you
I
got
got
bitch slapped across the face.
I got smacked. Oh, there's one that really reminds me so much. In Amsterdam, we had a test coming up. It was like, oh, multiple choice. Come on. Do I really need to study? I go into this test. I'm like, hang on, what's going on here? This isn't a multiple choice. I know. I come out of it. I'm like, oh, like it was tough, but let's keep on going. Got our results the following maybe 3 days later. I got a 9 out of 40. 9 out of 40.
So you didn't even make, I'm presuming that it would have been 4 choices. You didn't even make the cutoff of 25%.
To be fair, the exam was cooked and like I think the average was 12 out of 40, but still,
Yeah.
that's just my example of where if you think you're talented, or even if you are talented and you don't actually put in the effort, that's where you can go wrong. So firstly, I want to get onto Angela's theory of achievement.
Yep.
So essentially, through Angela's various studies, she came to the conclusion that effort counts twice as much as talent.
Mm-hmm.
So I repeat, effort counts twice as much as talent.
Mm-hmm.
And she derived a formula. So it's talent times effort equals skill. Fair? Does that make sense? So and then skill times effort equals achievement. So that's where
skill times effort. Yep.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So we can put it in an example like all right, let's just say Michael Jordan or something.
Mm-hmm.
He's talented at basketball. You can't dispute that.
Mm.
But then he trained hard. He trained really hard. So he honed that skill.
Watching that The Last Dance. I think it's Netflix.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was amazing. It was such an incredible watch.
Yeah.
It gave you a window into what it's like to be the best.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's a rare insight to someone at the top of their level like that. Exactly. So you've got his raw talent. You have all of his effort equals his skill.
Yeah.
And then it was his skill times by his effort that he puts in.
Yeah.
So effort comes into that equation twice.
Yeah.
If you don't have the effort there, then those numbers aren't going to go very well.
Exactly. Spot on.
Yeah.
Spot on.
Gotcha.
And so just like quick definitions for those who are wondering. So talent is how quickly your skills improve when you apply effort. And achievement is what happens when you take your required skills and use them. So that's what it is. And like, of course, luck is another little thing that plays a big role in life, in all aspects of life. And in her theory, she gets rid of luck because essentially you can't really measure luck.
Yeah, you can't objectively know how much was luck, how much wasn't luck. You can't plan for luck.
Yeah.
It's that variable that you have no control over in the experiment.
Yeah, exactly. That you have no control. So her experiment was she wanted things that we can control. And effort and talent to some degree you can control.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the theory, the underlying theory. And
behind Angela's grit. Yeah.
And so we'll get to talent versus effort. And I'm sure everyone's heard this one before. Hard work beats talent when talent fails to work hard. I know Kevin Durant said that. I'm sure other people have said that. And that's essentially what we're talking about. Like talent, effort times 2, hard work, success. Bang. Beautiful. That's the recipe. That's all you need to know.
That's five-star meal cooked up in a
Five-star
three-star
meal.
Michelin restaurant, Michelin rated restaurant.
And yeah, as I mentioned before, society would often have us believe that talent is the biggest contributor to success.
Mm.
And as we can see this by when we ask, like, we say, oh, how often amazing people are successful, and say they're a genius. And in a way, that sort of writes it off. And by putting someone on this pedestal and saying, oh, they're good because they're a genius, they're talented, they're smart, it takes away that it puts a barrier between them and us. So you can see yourself, you compare yourself to them easier, and like you can differentiate, and easily you're not like, you don't care. Essentially, you don't actually try to strive because like, oh yeah, that person's so good, like why should I bother?
Like they're this alien, like there's no method of you being able to be like them, because I guess society's you hit the nail on the head as to how I would put a wedge in the middle between I don't know, the average Joe and, let's say, Kevin Durant. Like, obviously there's some differences in characteristics there, but if average Joe can look at Kevin Durant and say, oh, he's a miracle, he's these these gifts that he's been born with, I'll never have anything like that. It gives him a reason to not try.
Yeah, exactly. It lets us off the hook to not try.
Yeah.
And that's dangerous because you don't try. So yeah, that's essentially talent versus effort. And I'll use a few examples. We've used Michael Jordan. Sticking around the basketball, LeBron James, people call him the chosen one. But did you know he spent 10 years doing 2 workouts per day? Let me repeat, 10 years doing 2 workouts per day. And this isn't just your fluffy little like, oh, I'm just gonna go to the park and shoot a few hoops and like cough a lung out and then sit down for 20 minutes and chat shit. This is sweating. This is grinding. This is, you're feeling sore.
Yeah.
Warren Buffett, another example. People call him a genius. Oh, he's an oracle. He's got a crystal ball. But I didn't know this until I read this book, until I did a bit of research. But he spends 5 hours. He spent 5 hours a day reading about certain topics for 50 years. Just imagine that.
That's more time than. No, man, that's crazy.
Yeah. And like, look, not everyone can read 5 hours a day because work comes into play, but you can at least read an hour or 2.
I mean, imagine if you did a fifth of what Warren Buffett does and earned a fifth of what Warren Buffett earns.
Yeah.
Pretty good trade-off.
Pretty good trade-off.
If you're asking me.
Yeah. And then another one, Michael Phelps. He swam every day for 5 years. So
every day?
Yeah. So on Christmas Day, he swam.
Yeah.
New Year's Day, he swam. In America, 4th of July, Independence Day, he swam. Yeah. And you're starting to see a pattern. Like, all these people at their level, pretty much everyone there is talented. But then it's this effort that they put in, day in, day out, day in, day out. This is what gives them this achievement, success. So that's essentially grit.
Yeah. That's awesome. I'm really excited to read this book. I think it's going to be really handy in terms of, well, number one, getting the mindset training ready for our running challenge. Because that's the next thing on my to-do list for today, is actually start getting a mental training program in place for once we do start getting into those bigger kilometers. And I think I might start to base it off some of these principles, because we're going to, like, anywhere, like in my mind, anywhere past 26 kilometers, that's going to be hard. And like we're going to need to embody some grit.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, I mean, we'll do it. I know that we will, but we need to learn how to do it. That's the fun, exciting part.
Well, lucky you say learn how to do it. I have a few answers here that we can apply. And yes, that running is going to be crazy. Like I don't think I've ever run more than 12Ks, but I am determined. If
Yeah,
someone else can do it, why can't I do it?
exactly. You know,
I'll
people
just keep
run ultra
moving these
marathons
legs.
all the time. You know, why not
Yeah.
do 10 in a row?
Yeah.
For anyone who doesn't really know what we're talking about, be sure to check out our running challenge called Move for Sight on our Instagram page. We're going for each week increasing our weekend run by 1 kilometer. Support us, get around us, start your own challenge, join our fundraising team. We'll have fun along the way and we'll learn a lot, that's for sure.
And also make sure you look up Move for Sight, the handle, and follow that because that's where we'll also post. And so now on to the next bit, how to grow grit. This is what the audience has been waiting for.
Yeah.
So Angela gives us a few examples of how to grow grit. So firstly is interest and purpose. And that equals passion. And when you have passion, you can often put in more effort. Is that true?
It is true.
It's true. And interest and purpose, it's a hard one to really find out your interests. Like even to this day now, like my interests are always shifting. Like this year have had a big shift. But it's about, especially at a young age, to find your interest and purpose, it's about trying as many things as you can, putting yourself in uncomfortable positions, and also just reflecting on how different things you do feel about, like, impact you. So through those sort of processes, you can find your interest and passion. Some people, very lucky, they find their interest and passion straight off the bat, they already know. So that's because passion is it's a nice little spice that you need to keep on
without the
going.
passion, why are you going to want to put the effort in?
Exactly.
It's not something that you believe in. You know, why are you going to want to wake up early in the morning? You know, why are you going to want to do it after work when you're tired? If you don't have that zing, that X factor, that means it's all you that's doing it, not for anybody else, not for any other reason, because it's your purpose. I think it's a very cool part of the equation. I think people overlook it, and they might choose something because they want to do it. Doesn't necessarily mean it's their passion.
Exactly. And so she also says, grit is about stamina. You've always heard the saying, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. Or what's that, like Child's Tale, like the hare and the wolf or something? Or is it the hare and the wolf? The rabbit and
the hare and the turtle. The
hare and
rabbit
the turtle.
the turtle.
Yeah. You just got to keep on trotting along. And that's where grit is born. And so that takes me to my next point.
Hare and the wolf.
That would be a quick raise.
Yeah, mate. What kind of upbringing did you have?
Hey, mate. This is my upbringing. I watch different shows. I listen to different tales. I had different little myths and whatever you call those things.
Well, I guess you would learn a lot if you are listening to fables of the rabbit and the wolf. If I'm listening to the turtle and the rabbit.
It's African way, baby.
So we've got interest and purpose equals passion. The factor of stamina being important to grit. What's the next part to this?
So the next bit is deliberate practice. And this isn't just practice. Deliberate practice is what set us apart. And she gives us four ways to make sure you're doing deliberate practice, not just practice. So you need a clear defined stretch goal. So a clear defined long-term goal. So what you're working on. For us, we'll put it out in context, the run. We want to run 52 Ks.
Yeah.
But more precisely, we want to run 52 Ks, 51 Ks, whatever. We want to run a lot of Ks back to back.
Yeah.
That's our goal. And then so now we need full concentration and effort. So when we're training, we need to be training with our vision for
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
So
So
that
not fluffing around doing
yeah.
things that aren't important.
Yeah, like going for like a 10K walk is not really going to train you for a 52K run.
Yeah.
Like it will a bit, but not compared to going even for a 5K like
Mm.
run, like interval run or whatever.
Some specificity
Yeah.
into your training is pretty crucial. It's always, it's one of those factors in PE. It was always a go-to answer you could put down on any, school, physical education exam was like specificity in training, variability. What is it? Time? I can't remember. But yeah, essentially, if you're not training to what you're trying to do, you're not going to be growing in that particular area.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And then you need immediate and informative feedback. So after you train, whatever form that takes, writing a diary, a vlog, for us, we'll be doing those reviews, like just like
Mm.
our breakdown of our run, and
Yeah.
that will be our informative feedback.
I've
So you
actually
need,
started a bit of a running journal too. I've
yeah,
added it to my usual one. I think that's been very helpful.
I don't have one, but I will ask you more about that and
Yeah, I
put
will
that one in
send you
place.
my template for it.
Sweet. And then the last bit is repetition, reflection, and refinement.
Mm.
So you need to repeat it. You need to, once again, reflect on the feedback and evaluate what you need to do better. And then you need to refine it. I think that's where a lot of people can go wrong.
Yeah,
And I've done it before, like just going to the gym, bang, bang, in the process, working out hard, yeah, seeing some gains, but not really looking at what I'm doing in terms of like exercises and pushing or refining it or changing my
yeah,
form to get a better training.
yeah.
So that's
So
what,
essentially, you'll be able to look at the big picture too.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
And then so that's the four main points. And then I'm sure maybe if you've heard it, I think you might have heard of the 10,000 hour rule. Are
Mm.
you aware of that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's essentially, I forgot who wrote it. I think some guy called Michael something. Anyway, so to become an expert at something, you need to spend 10,000 hours doing it.
Mm.
And that falls within that deliberate practice. So if you can follow that deliberate practice formula or template and then apply the 10,000 hour rule, that repetition, I guarantee whatever you're trying to do, you will be one of the best at it amongst your
Yeah.
circle. And then who knows what else.
Yeah. And then you can decide if that's something for you. You can take and run from there.
Yeah, exactly. And then the last bit of it is kaizen. I love this word, man. Kaizen,
Yeah.
Japanese word, and essentially it's constant improvement. We've talked
Yeah.
about this one in that early book review we did, Atomic Habits.
Yeah.
So it's about constant improvement, 1% better every day practice. So those are a
It's a pretty
few ways to
it's a
grow
pretty
grit.
cool looking word.
Yeah,
It's one of those
kaizen.
words I can, how there's that kind of classic, um, there's like, it's like live, love, laugh. And like, for some reason, everyone has it in their rooms
Yeah,
or it's all over, like, little, I don't know, tattoos everywhere. I reckon for me, that would be my little like live, love, laugh. It'd be like Kaizen. That'd be it.
kaizen. It's awesome, man. The Japanese have so many awesome like
They
words that
do.
like just mean so like it's just a word, but it means so much. It's so cool.
And the way the language is set up, they can, in one word, they can capture like
Yeah,
a whole kind of feeling and emotion.
it's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty
Shouts out
cool.
to the Japanese people.
Thank you. Kaizen.
Kaizen. So so that's how you go grit. And then what I
Yeah.
really liked and what maybe I took out of this book was the three things that we need to persevere over adversity.
Yeah.
Or like to no, not sorry, to grow your grit, to keep on going essentially. And these
Yeah.
three things are the growth mindset, optimistic self-talk, and then perseverance over adversity.
Yeah.
And so let me just quickly break it down. So a growth mindset, instead of viewing your current levels and abilities as fixed, view them as you can improve. So starting with the mindset that you can improve is the first vital step towards making improvements in your life.
Mm-hmm.
If you're fixed, if you're like, nope, I can't do that. Nope, this is all I can do. Damn, you're just not going to improve. That's it.
Yeah, well, you're probably right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. And so the next one is, sorry, I just took a drink there, folks. When talking or optimistic self-talk. So this is when talking about problems actively, change your perception of these challenges from permanent and like negative to specific and temporary. So like always try to shift what you're saying from pessimistic to optimistic. So just say good things. Like, you know, when you're having a shit day, don't be like, oh, fuck, I'm having a shit day. Oh, I missed the bus because I'm having a shit day. Just try. It's hard. Don't get me wrong. It is so hard. But by the more you practice that, the more you can change the way you feel when things are tough. And that gives you that factor to keep on going, especially after a failure. You're like, okay, I failed, but I did this right.
Yeah. Okay. So essentially you need to be able to draw out the good instead of just getting all the bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then perseverance over adversity. Simplest way to say it, another Japanese saying, I don't know the Japanese word for it, but fall 7, rise 8. Simple. Get up. Fall, get up, go. Fall, get up, go. So you need that. Because if you fall 7 and don't rise again, that's the end of whatever goal you're trying to do.
And who knows, like the next rise could have been the big rise. That could have been where the big opportunity was hidden around the corner.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I like to use examples. So let me be vulnerable for a second and show you how I've given up on something. So I've had many business ideas that I started to work on, but as soon as I met a road bump, the idea would fizzle. And applying that growth, pessimistic, and perseverance, I put in where I went wrong. So this is like
what type of business was it?
So this was like a app. So like an insurance sort of app where like if you're like a car crash assistant, so if you go in a car crash, you could because I got in a car crash and I had no idea what I was doing. I'm still working on this idea, so I had no idea what I was doing, and I thought, you know what? If I had an app or something, or just an assistance that like I get a car crash, kind of just like it's all safe. Whip out the phone. It's like, all right, you need to do this thing. Get this person. First, like figure out if anyone assess the zone. If you need to call 911, why am I saying that? Call 000. Like a dial thing in there. Next step, talk to the driver, who the other driver, take photos, insert photos here, video, and you can have like your data sort of preloaded on a QR, and then you can scan that. And instead of having to like, you know, like get it like a pen and paper while you're like, oh, shaky already, just scan that, shares your information together, and you can get like voice memos of people who are there, so like immediate like evidence and stuff like that. And so essentially that was my idea, and it still isn't
Really good idea.
It's not a bad idea, and watch one of our avid listeners listen to this and take that idea. But shouts out if you do.
just give us a few percentage of ownage points.
So yeah, with that business idea, I was so motivated. I put up like a business plan. I wrote like my SWOT and stuff.
Yeah.
And then the growth mindset, this is where it kicked in. So one of the reasons I stopped was that I identified that I didn't actually know how to code. And this stumped me. And I thought, I can't code. What's the point? And then the pessimistic talk started. So I can't code. How do I expect to start a business when I'm not skilled enough for this? Someone can do it better than me and ultimately lead. And then that led me to fall once and not rise again. So that's an example from my life of how this growth, self-talk, and getting up has impacted like my ability to not do what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
To not be greedy. And so now that I've told you the model, we can work through this together. If you were me, how would you apply what I said about just before and apply it to a good form of growth mindset, pessimistic talk, and rising that 8?
So we need to start off with the growth mindset first.
Yeah.
It sounds like you started off with it, but then it slipped away almost straight away as soon as anything kind of tricky came in. So I think first of all, for the first step, we actually need to grow your growth mindset first. So get you believing in yourself to keep on taking more little steps towards improvement, and just having it, your blinkers on to other things so you can see what's in front of you and invest your time into thinking that you're going to succeed.
Yeah.
I think anyway.
Yeah. No, that plays a big part. That's very true. And I would have just added, I realized I couldn't code. That was my speed bump.
Okay.
So instead of just being like, bam, bam, can't code, that's it. There's so many resources. Like no one's born learning to code.
No,
Many resources.
I don't even know what a code is.
Yeah.
Like ones and zeros and shit.
I just want everyone to think quickly when they were like young. You couldn't read, but now look at you. You can read. You can articulate. You can write. You can do anything essentially just if you keep at it. And so where I went wrong, I stopped. But a growth mindset would be like, all right, I can't code. I'm going to
Learn to code.
Yeah, learn to code. Use online free course. Do a course. Do a uni, whatever. You can learn.
So like breaking down barriers, essentially.
Yeah.
That would stop you from being, okay, I got you.
And then optimistic talk.
Yeah.
Is what you've mentioned before, like putting on the blinders, keep on going, telling myself I can keep on going. Maybe.
How could you apply optimistic self-talk to yourself, even today?
Even today. The best way I do it is by through my reflection. So when I do something, a task, I'm like, oh, okay, sweet, I've done that task. And I think back, oh, wow, maybe 2 weeks ago, I couldn't have done that. Like, for example, with this running, I know I'm going to get to this 52K. And every time I'm doing it, after my 10K max threshold that I've ever done, I'm going to be like, wow, look at that. I've run 10.5Ks. Look at that. I've run 10.6. Yeah. Look at that. I'm at 11 now. Wow. I can keep on going. Just that. Yeah. That alone can change it. Like when you're feeling hard, when it's feeling hard.
Yeah. And I feel like for me, just optimistic self-talk could even come in the form of not being a prick to yourself. I find I get very caught up in sometimes not doing things as well as I would like. And man, I let myself know it. Like I can be very negative towards myself. So potentially, I think other people might have the same thing. Positive self-talk could just be not bringing yourself down. They'd be like, I'm human. We stuff up. Look at the good bits that you've done instead of the bad bits.
Yeah. Spot on, mate.
So the last bit.
Perseverance.
How would you apply that to building this app?
Yeah. So perseverance. Even though, let's say now I have a growth mindset and I have this wonderful optimistic talk, I can talk myself to the moon. Yeah, you'll still come to a point where you can't figure something out or you have low motivation. And this is also applying a bit of those earlier principles of like dedicated practice, Kaizen. Instead of stopping, you're going to need to continue going with your daily practice. So for example, coding. I'm getting better at coding now, but now I've come to the next hurdle, where a beginner coder becomes an intermediate coder, and I'm struggling. Instead of being like, all right, that's it. I just keep applying that daily practice, 10 minutes a day. Bang, 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 10 minutes a day. Next minute, I'm at the expert coder level. So it's just about continuing in the face of adversity, which is so hard sometimes. And then when you bring in back everything, when you have that passion, that effort, and that talent, you can keep on going and you can persevere.
Yeah. And I mean, essentially, like you said, 10 minutes a day, that everyone has 10 minutes a day.
Yeah.
That ends up being more than an hour a week. Do that for a year. That's more than 52 hours worth. That's a start. That's so many more hours that you've put in than if you just didn't do anything.
Exactly.
It's certainly not 10,000 hours, but you're going to be a lot better at whatever you've done for 10 minutes a day after a year.
Yeah.
After doing, 52 hours. I don't know what the maths is, but it's just, I don't know. I for me, I find one of the biggest things, and I think this book seems to touch on it too, is the small incremental improvements that are just repetitive over time. And you just got to know that, there's going to be some bits that suck. There are going to be some days you don't want to do it. But I think those are the days that are most important. That's where you find your passion.
Yeah.
It's in those hard days that you'll learn the most about yourself.
Exactly, mate.
So from the book, hit me with some cons.
So my cons are pretty like basic artificial level cons. So the book can feel quite a bit repetitive, especially she mentions a lot about like, talent and effort, because that's what the books are about. But like she mentions the same sort of points in just different smart ways. So it can feel a bit repetitive. That's one of the cons. Not a very strong con. And then like most books, like most self-help books, most, these type of books, some of the information she is telling us is not new stuff. So like if you're like wanting to find like, this new eye-opening book, I wouldn't say this is completely it. It's eye-opening in its own way, because it really puts these things into a nice way that you can see, and it's evidence-backed, and it just makes the information easier to synthesize. But it's not really new stuff. We all kind of know it in the back of our mind, but it's just that reaffirming that.
I feel like another con from what I'm picking up is that it would pick out weaknesses in people that maybe have had a lot of talent but didn't put the effort in. Like this book could poke some holes in your logic, and then it's backed up pretty well. Like it could, if you're not ready to read this book and accept where you are and where you could have been and where you maybe want to be, then it could hurt a little bit.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So pros of the book then. Give me your main pros.
My main pros is, so as I said before, she uses wonderful examples and personal stories and scientific papers. And for me, I learn best, and I trust things more when it's not just one person saying this. It's drawing from their life, drawing from scientific papers, drawing from other people's life. Like when I was talking about like MJ, Michael Phelps, Warren Buffett, at least everyone would know at least one of those people.
Yeah.
And like just saying that, like you're like, okay, wow, yeah, you can see hard work really pays off. So I really like that, and it makes it quite entertaining. And what I do like about it is also, instead of just like telling us about it, she actually provides us tools and tips to increase our greediness and actually put it in place. So this is one of those books you can read and you can start applying it immediately. And
Mhm.
where I felt with some books that I've read, it's been like, all right, yeah, awesome. But now what? Like, now I know it, but like, now what? Like, obviously it's still to me to put that in place, but I like how she puts in a plan for you to start implementing this.
Yeah, I totally agree. And from what you've from what you taught me about the book is that I think another little pro that ties in with that is that, well, she makes it easy to apply for the everyday person, but she also makes it easy to identify what grit looks like in people around you. You know, she doesn't just compare it to these big people. You could, because of the way she does it in a really nice, simple way.
Mm,
You know, you can see that in, you know, in the person just over there. You know, you can see it in your people from school. You can see it from the people that, you know, you follow on Instagram or whatever. Like, you can start to pick out the bits that maybe make them better than you at where they are. And
exactly.
it's simple equations we can use in everyday life, which I think is really important for any book.
Yeah, that was my last pro. So that's took the words out of my mouth, so to say.
And you're a good teacher.
I'm trying, mate.
Mm.
I'm greatly trying. So yeah, essentially that's the book, and
Yeah.
I'll just leave you with a few things. So who's this book for? You asked me this earlier. So this book is for individuals and parents who want to learn what encourages people to find a passion,
Mm.
how to learn to work, and what a passion for a long term, and work at a passion for a long term, and how
Mm.
we can internalize a greater purpose for ourselves and others by following through with commitments that we feel strongly about. So
Mm.
that's who this book is for. And when you read this, you shouldn't read this book because as I was reading it, I was like, oh, you shouldn't read this book as I am gritty or not, but read it as I am not gritty now or I'm not gritty yet. That,
Yeah.
you see that little change in words?
Yeah.
That's
It's like a
essentially
little
what the book is about.
perspective shift.
Perspective
I
shift.
think it's, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So
Well, I can't wait to read this book.
yeah,
My housemate has it, so I think I'm gonna borrow it and put that to the next on my list.
mate, pick it up and read it and become gritty. Let's all become gritty. I'd love to see a world of gritty people, man. Imagine that. A
Mm.
whole world of gritty
Oh,
people. Everyone would be
it'd
just high
be
achievers.
yeah, man. It'd be a dangerous arena of success and crawling over each other for more success. Well,
Yeah.
thank you very much. If anyone has any questions, be sure to send us a message and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. And make sure you check out our Instagram page and the fundraising little challenge that we've set ourselves called Move for Sight. And we'll see you all next time.
See you later, everyone.